Welcome to the Windows Computer and Technology channel. And a couple of you have asked me my opinion on if Windows 11 is going to succeed or not. Because, there's a lot of comments, and I see a lot of frustration from people that don't like the fact that their PC is not going to run Windows 11. One frustration that particularly is an interesting one, and I agree with it a lot, is the fact that a lot of people that are compatible but are not tech savvy or tech enthusiasts that understand their PC a lot are not realizing that their PC has the minimum requirements, but that their PC needs to have secure boot and TPM enabled. And of course, for the average Windows user, that is like speaking Chinese. You just don't know what that is. It's like an alien language of some sort. And in that, I have to say, TPM's there on the boards and in the processors. It should be just turned on. You have it. Why is it turned off? And that I agree with a lot of people saying, all of these people that don't know. Yeah, you're right. Totally. And that is one of the things that, manufacturers particularly are a lot to blame here, because they could have just turned on that switch and that's it. And manufacturers do a lot of these crappy decisions that will impact users over time. Just like, manufacturers, of course, put crappy software that crashes Windows, then people are mad at Windows, but don't understand that their HP or Dell computer came with so much crapware that was installed by the company. That's the problem. One of the things about Windows 11, I do think it is going to be successful for a very simple reason. Windows is Windows, and a lot of people have the impression that, oh yeah, but we have all of these other choices. The reality is for the majority of people, there's no other choice. And that will be because of hardware or because of specific software. Enterprise aren't moving to other things than Windows. They are all integrated in there. Totally. Microsoft did a great job at making sure that the enterprise, the way that they are interacting with each other, Windows is the operating system to get. And if you're not in Windows, it's super complicated suddenly for all sorts of little things, from, just sharing files. It's still today in 2021. Between different platforms, it's still complicated, and that's why the enterprise is in Windows. That's the way to go. Windows 11 will have probably a slow start. I don't see Windows 11 being half of the computers in the world in a year from now or 2 years from now. It will eventually be a dominant Windows, that's for sure. And I'm predicting that it's actually going to be a higher number of Windows 11 computers before the end of Windows 10's demise in 2025. But it might go to a slow start, because it is true that they are removing a lot of machines that could have been compatible, but they decided not to put them compatible. A lot of people, and I see the rage of a lot of people saying, well, I got a 6th gen or a 7th gen or 5th gen processor, and it works, it should work. It's not because it's not working. The problem is you have to put a line somewhere, because Microsoft, if they do what they say and really talk serious about security, you got to stop somewhere, and you got to stop somewhere that's not that far off. Like I said, a lot of CPUs that are past the 7th generation are not compatible, don't have virtualization for security and for software. Plus, the worst affected processors for something we don't talk about much today, but it's still there. The Spectre and Meltdown CPU flaws are the older ones. They have the least amount of possible mitigation because they are older and different architecture and slower. So Microsoft might be thinking about that when it's thinking of where to cut off, even though a lot of the newer processors still have, we have mitigation for the Spectre and Meltdown flaws that were discovered in 2018 already, which is 3 years ago. Windows 11 will take on because Windows 11 will simply be the continuation. I still think a lot of people that are today thinking that the Windows 11 operating system is not going to be popular because their machine can't run it. Once again, they're not thinking about the fact that if your machine's already 5 years old, it'll be 9 years old, almost 10 years old when Windows 10 ends its support. 10 years old, there's not that many PCs that go further than 10 years when you're running Windows. Your PC might run into a problem. You could have some hardware issues. You could, if it works still at 10 years, you'll have something that in 10 years of use is so slow compared to the newer technology of that time. A lot of you will have moved on to something new that will already have Windows 11 on it. Of course, the best numbers will be to check out when it's officially released, the market share numbers of Windows, how many people are going to be there. The first to be there, of course, are going to be enthusiasts. Enthusiasts are the first one that want to be there. I'll be there when it's officially released, that's for sure. I'll be keeping a Windows 10 machine for Windows 10 videos. That's for sure. I'm not abandoning Windows 10 videos here. It's still the dominant system. It's still going to be the dominant system for quite a while. So, Windows 10 is important still. And I will just, I said it so many times on the channel. It doesn't matter you can't run Windows 11. It doesn't matter. You're on Windows 10 and it's going to continue working and you'll be able to do whatever you want and it's just going to be there for you. Your PC is not going to stop. A lot of the frustrations I see from some of the comments is like, well, the hell, I'm going to Linux. Why? Windows 10 is still working and it's going to work till 2025. And anyways, people that say that aren't, Windows users. They're Linux fanboys that are trying to make believe that Linux is the way to go now for the future. It ain't for the majority of people. And I can tell you, for regular folk that already has a hard time with Windows, forget Linux. It ain't easy to run. Okay? Yeah, there's easier ways with the stores now that have some apps and stuff, but forget it. Linux is zero interesting for the average user. It's more of a fan thing. People like Linux and they're there and that's cool. Like I said, I've got older laptops that I often convert to Linux to play around with because it's fun. It's fun to play around with Linux and go through Linux and things like that. But I'm still a Windows guy and will stay a Windows guy. And, I've used a Mac for a long time, a MacBook Pro. I'll never go to Apple again because support isn't there for long enough for machines that are so expensive. And it doesn't turn me on. It's not for me. And once again, Mac users, if they're happy and you're happy with your Mac, fine. It's not a war and it's not a competition, But Windows 11 will, yes, be a success. And anybody out there that comments and says, well, all the things that they're doing, you're going to see Windows 11 is just going to, bomb and it's not going to take on. It will take on because it's Windows. Like Windows Vista took on, even if it wasn't fantastic. Why? Because it's Windows. And we are, of course, at a moment where things are going to change at some point. Of course, some people will, maybe take this time to say, you know what, I don't need a computer anymore. Or I don't need this type of computer anymore. Windows is a big operating system, very complex, with a lot of things in it that 90% of people don't use. And that's where people sometimes might be moving to something else. And they're not going to move to a Mac. They're not going to move to Linux. The move right now is really towards either Chromebooks, or people just are happy with a iPad or an Android tablet or phone. It ain't the era of computers anymore. It's the era of a lot of devices, and people will just go to the device that does what they want. And for the majority of people, doing what you want is going on the web, checking their banks, and sending email, going to Facebook, social media. That can be done on a phone, on a tablet. You don't need Windows to do these things anymore. These can be done anywhere else. So the shift from Windows to another system will mainly go to maybe mobile devices or to tablets or Chromebooks. Definitely not to a Mac or to a Linux machine. That's a different type of user. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.